Hello everyone, this is Dr. Ruchijain, and today I'm going to discuss about virtual autism, a threat to society. I have released many videos over this topic, and this is actually very vulnerable and a real threat to society when we are talking about our future generations. So this topic, I am going to include all the clinical findings I have done in the past 2 years of time over kids ranging from 0 to 5 years. And I'll try to cover this topic as much as in English so that many of members and parents are concerned so that they will be getting all the things. So let me start up with the virtual autism part. Let me be very clear. This study was done solely at my clinic during COVID, and references were gathered to quantify and validate. There may be some lags and differences in studies and findings, and you may say that I am wrong. I agree, I may be wrong. I'm trying to cope up and find as many relations to the topic as I can. I have taken references from American Association of Pediatrics, JAMA University of Pediatrics, Romania Pediatrics University, and Durable Human Research Group. So I'm very thankful to their study material provided on internet, which gave me the base to search and find more about the topic. I have done my study over more than 50 kids, and after I released my first video over this virtual autism topic, constantly I'm getting feedbacks from parents, and this number is constantly increasing. And I have treated more than 10 to 15 cases successfully under category of virtual autism. So what is virtual autism? Let's try to define autism first. As you must be knowing, autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by hyperactivity, poor speech development, sensory disorganization, poor sensory and motor development, poor social behavior, and anxiousness. Virtual autism. This term was first coined by clinical psychologist Marius Zamfir in Romania, and he stated that virtual autism can be defined as type of autism spectrum disorder with a history of screen exposure of more than 4 hours in kids from 1 to 5 years of age, where development was near normal in initial phase of life. That means if a child was all good before a certain phase of time, say 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and then there is a history or episode of more screen exposure in early age, and after that you find that your child is lacking in development, in speech, in social behavior, there are chances that your child has entered autism spectrum disorder and he is presenting with virtual autism. As per Romania University, various studies in Romania have come to similar conclusions and stated that sensory motor and socio-affective deprivation caused by the consumption of more than 4 hours a day of virtual environment can activate behaviors and elements similar to those found in children diagnosed with ASD. So here we are very clear that children are not autistic. They are representing some symptoms of autism spectrum disorder. Hence, we call it as virtual autism. So I am very thankful to this journal I received from AFA-SE in 2018 that concludes about neuronal learning. And they gave a clue why this virtual autism may be a clinical finding without any investigation approach. The child in front of screen does not have usual language experience, right? He's not talking with the TV and mobile. The visual and auditory stimuli perceived in front of screen are so aggressive that they exceed the brain's ability to control them. They are just watching and observing. They're not learning. They are just a mirror of the views, whatever they're getting on the screen, right? The inverse effect will be inhibition of some important mental processes because this is the age of child's learning. Children get used to watching screen, no longer wanting to understand what's happening in the world around them because they're just happy with the sensation they're perceiving from the screen, which is fake and virtual. This is not real. The virtual experience varies from real time, real distance, real space, and real duration existing in the world. The child lacks knowledge by touching and physically manipulating the materials. Virtual environment involves a passive experience for human mind. That means child is not able to touch, to feel, to taste, to experience whatever he is or she is experiencing from screen. He or she is just a viewer, a person who is watching but not learning. It's like a mirror reflecting the same thing from the mind of the child, right? So here, JAMA Pediatrics published their work, and they have shown that the amount of white matter appears to be reduced in the brains of young children who spend more than 2 hours a day on screens. The brain's white matter aids in thought processing and organization as well as performing other vital functions. Think of white matter as cables, sort of like telephone lines that are connecting the various parts of the brain so they can talk to each other. Dr. John Hutton told CNN. Dr. John Hutton is a name among pediatrics and psychology, and they have done a wide research over these things. And he also stated, these are tracks that we know are involved with language and literacy, and these were the ones relatively underdeveloped in these kids with more screen time. There is something to be considered about underdeveloped. When a child is exposed to more and more on screen, the white matter, the language tracks, literacy tracks, learning tracks are underdeveloped in these kids. So we have to be very conscious about what our child is learning, because you are the one responsible. I also came to conclude my research with the social learning theory by Bandura. He says, he emphasizes on vicarious learning, that means learning by observing. Children is observing screen for maximum time. They are awake, so they behave like dead, insensible, unresponsive, but active screen. Yes, they are overactive. A parent may complain of hyperactivity of their child's attitude, but they lack communication or conversation or mutual interaction. Child will not go for eye contact, will not respond to their name, will be less productive or less sensitive to his or her own senses even. Screen viewing several hours a day prevents brain from developing and generates behavior problems and relationship problems as well. This was the statement given by American Association of Pediatrics. And Maria Samfir sir from Romania said, children's brains are used to get pleasure without making efforts at all. So why a child will try to learn and explore the world when he is getting everything on the sofa, on the bed, in front of screen? He is getting a feeling of happiness while viewing the colors and sounds from the screen. And he is satisfied with everything, with hunger, with washroom indications, with natural things from the parents on the sofa, because their parents and the family members don't want the child to disturb them during their own work. We have to think and feel the truth behind this sentence, which is the base for this virtual autism. Hearing is sensation. Perception is understanding what we hear. In order to turn sensation into perception, we need direct contact with objects and people. If a child is not in contact with objects and people, how he will learn? He will not hear, he will not understand, and this will result in the dead end of childhood. Is a screen a culprit? No, it sucks up time, sucks up childhood, but screen is not directly a culprit. There are many negative effects of screen. We are on and off talking about these things, but still we are not concerned that these things are happening to our own family with our own children. The TV, cell phone, internet results in sedentary, isolated, neglected, overstimulated child, which in turn result in developmental delay, obesity, mental illness, detachment, ADHD, or autism, which will result in diabetes, stroke, heart attack in elder ones, addiction, violation, and perversion nature of teenagers, and medicated, impulsive, illiterate younger kids, toddlers. For seniors, this may be a reason for early death. For elders, there may be, because this may result in no relationship, social isolation. And for kids, this will result in virtual autism. And all the persons in the world who are over addicted to screen, and they are generating a gap between the real world and the screen, and their own existence will be unsustainable. So it's like a magnet which will attract kids. And when you take the phone away or screen away from your kids, they will be like tiny tyrants. They will be hyperactive, violent, and they are aggressive on screen withdrawal. They are lost from the world and lost in their own world. Hence, we call it virtual autism. And if they play on a device too much, they turn out into zombies, means senseless. Clinical presentation of these kids depicts: examination must include 2 time zones. Parents often accept child's behavior was different few months back, but now behaves as if deaf or lost from our world. Loss of eye contact is there, less response to name when called, repeated action performance, lost in own world, more than 4 hours of screen view, aggressive or silent on screen withdrawal, poor social interaction, poor motor sensory performance, poor appetite, hyperactive, anxious, aggressive, mood swings, temper tantrums, and headbanging habits. Few or all symptoms can be there in a child we are considering for ASD or virtual autism. Loss of eye contact and non-response to name when called up. Repetitive activity performance, they are very clear for repetition of activities. During examination, we were clear about examining the normal milestone, history of active normal development of child. All investigations are normal, no family history of neurological disorder. The commonest thing was screen exposure was for a longer duration, and avoidance and negligence of family members and peers was there. On examination, we noted history taking was very important to distinguish between classic regression and virtual autism. Parents points out 2 answers from before and after for most of the questions. Screen exposure was there. Developmental milestones, speech development, sensory motor development were examined, and the main key point was AMCHET questionnaire. The AMCHET questionnaire consisted of many activities of interaction between child and parents, between child and family, between child and self-care. So you must be getting all the questions from AMCHET. These are easily available on internet. We focused on speech development, minimally verbal, phrase speech or fluent speech. Minimally verbal refers to only sounds and MAPA sounds. Phrases refers to demanding and expressing needs. And fluent speech was for normal speech. Treatment approach for therapists and caretakers consisted of fill the gap approach. Fill the gap means you have to fill the gap created by screen between your child and you, your child and real world. So AMCHET questionnaires for virtual autism, we added some more questions that included how many hours child was exposed to screen. Does your child respond to name when called up? Are parents in work from home, both the parents, single parent, or all the members of the family? Does he point out at any things or demands for? Or do you feel child is lost somewhere? These were the results from assessment done via VA questionnaire. Fill the gap approach includes screen withdrawal, improving eye contact, sensory integration therapy, proprioception, and enjoying parenthood by letting child enjoy childhood. Screen withdrawal included, as researchers have concluded that screen withdrawal in ASD gives marked improvement in children's development and ASD symptoms. And we have noticed that symptoms can almost disappear. Yes, your child can be a normal like you was. American Association of Physiotherapists have warned to avoid screen exposure for kids below 2 years of age. Therapists must take care to fill the screen time with qualitative work like playing with toys, playing with peers, family time, and exposure to nature. As per American Association of Pediatrics, they have given a guideline about screen exposure and sleep time under 1 year of age. We have to improve eye contact. Parents has to involve with kids making eye contact. Therapists must fill the gap of eye contact by planning strategies to involve more family members with child and encouraging child to look at them. Various sounds, music, natural things like water, air, birds, animals must be used to draw child's attention to our world. But you have to be very cautious about, don't repeat acts or rhymes which the children or child was using on screen mode, right? SIT, sensory integration therapy, that were aimed to fill the gap between sensory input process and motor outputs needed. This included specified techniques to improve touch, taste, smell, audition, auditory, and visual impulses. This can be like putting coin in the glass, making sounds, identifying colors and smell. Then we focused on proprioception. That included texture walking on different type of surfaces, jumping on trampoline, playing with things, make the child eat his own food, and combing hairs, planting trees, and daily chores. Now, the main thing was parenthood versus childhood. You have to talk and read with your child every day as much as possible. Provide materials, toys, and games that require manipulation, such as Play-Doh, finger paints, play kitchen. Go outside at least once a day and make sure the child has time to play alone and with other children. Don't use screens when you are with children. Don't not hand a phone to your baby or young child. And you should keep the screen locked if your child is more adopted. Keep the TV off around kids under age 4, even if the child doesn't seem to be paying attention on what's on the screen. Many parents complained of, my child doesn't look at the screen, he just enjoys the sound. But you have to be very cautious about anything related to screen, because we just want to avoid the gap created by screen and virtual world between you and your child, right? Explain to family members and caregivers why these measures are essential to a child's healthy development, durability, and well-being. Always remember, when they watch your face and listen to you, they learn to communicate. From your hugs and your touch, they learn to love. Thank you so much. Now last, not the least, Stephen Covey says, efficient machines work as fast as possible, but people, to be efficient is to slow down and listen. That's what a child needs from you. Listen to them, to their needs. Don't make them a robot or a screen. Be a smart parent, not a smartphone parent. Take care, stay home, stay safe, happy parenting.